Hi, it's been a long time since I last posted, um, and in the last video, I was quite incoherent because I didn't write any of my thoughts uh, on paper before speaking about them in the video. So, I did that today. so, uh, anyone who is watching this video is able to understand what I'm trying to say. And so, here we go. So I was reading how Lord Shiva is the embodiment of ultimate detachment. A question came up in my mind related to an event from Daksha Yajna. If uh, you're not if you're not familiar with what it is, you can look it up. It's on Google. Uh, One of the phase of that Daksha Yajna was Shiva roaming directionless or doing Rudra Tandava and carrying Sati's body in his arms while he was wandering aimlessly. So I was thinking, how does that even happen to a supreme being like Lord Shiva? Because he's the ultimate, he's the embodiment of ultimate detachment, and how can he be so deep in grief uh, when Sati immolated herself? And so when Lord Shiva came to know about it, and he held Sati's corpse in his arms, and he was like very angry and like aimless, directionless, quite static, devoid of any energy, because of course energy is Shakti itself, Sati, and she left him. I was thinking how if he's the one who is the embodiment of ultimate detachment, how can he be so deep in grief? So isn't it a bit contradictory? But thinking deeper made me realize that maybe there is no contradiction. Maybe there is just paradox or a lesson to learn here, and it's not just a story. So detachment is not numbness. We all hear that, right? And yet some people confuse it a lot with suppressing emotions. So detachment is not numbness, we all know that, or rather some of us know it because we try to stay detached while just maintaining emotional distance. So this is what I thought detachment was, to maintain an emotional distance. And detachment is rather complete mastery over one's emotions, right? So that's what I thought uh, what detachment was before I researched on it. um, I don't know, I am quite jittery this today. So just to keep myself anchored, I am going to I'm going to try to read from my diary instead of forming all my thoughts again, which I do quite a lot. Call it a bad habit or whatever. I did some research and I found that detachment might not be the right word for what we all need to practice. Detachment is an English word, we all know that, of course, and the exact meaning of it is to be separated, disconnected, or emotionally uninvolved, emotionally distant. But in philosophy or spirituality, we are taught not to think of ourselves as separated from others and rather see that we are all connected or even one. This happens specifically or especially in spirituality, where we are taught that we are not separated, all of us are one, and we are all connected to God. So if detachment is practiced in a way that makes you want to maintain an emotional distance, that is usually not the right way, or not the not the thing that you want to practice, but anyways. And more of it is more of a focus on protecting yourself from pain that comes from caring for others, caring deeply for others, or falling in love with someone, whoever it is. Really, it doesn't have to be a romantic endeavor. So if you practice this long enough, this kind of detachment, where you try your best to not be involved emotionally with anyone or anything, if you practice this long enough, you might turn into an apathetic person. Your detachment might turn into apathy, which again might protect you from pain, but in long term divides you of emotional or spiritual fulfillments. So while you might be becoming apathetic in the name of detachment, the tragedy of Mahadev and Sati's love shows how even the supreme entity or the great god experienced tremendous grief over the eternal rest of his cosmic or divine lover. So this is what I wrote. This is the whatever I'm reading from. I wrote it yesterday, late at night. So that's I thought that it's most likely the tragedy, what happens to Mahadev and Sati's love, which is true. A supreme being like him was in tremendous grief over the eternal rest of his lover. So, what really is the right word for the practice of caring deeply and being emotionally involved fully, yet not hold anything or anyone to the point of like tightly to the point of suffocation, or possession. So the more aligned word, English word, would be non-attachment. There is another word that I'll introduce later. So the first word is non-attachment. But from my research on the divine story of Mahadev and Sati, I came across the word nishkama karma, which would be translated into English as selfless action. An action that is performed without any selfish desire or hoping for a certain result. And the other best one word alternative in English is for detachment, for non-attachment, is equanimity. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this word correctly or not, so bear with me. So anyways, moving forward, whereas if you practice emotional distance from other people, situation, etc., then what you're really practicing is vairagya, which is actually the total detachment, which is the actual detachment. So what you want to practice might not be the detachment itself, because detachment is like total withdrawal, renouncing relationships and avoiding pain entirely. That's called vairagya. So now you know what is vairagya and what is nishkama karma. They're both different things, and I'm not saying that one is better than other, or a wrong there's a wrong way. uh, it makes sense for people to choose vairagya, total withdrawal and total emotionally uninvolvement in anything or anyone after getting hurt quite a few times. So now that you know the true meaning of both practices, if you compare the two, vairagya, which is total detachment or renunciation, and nishkama karma, which is selfless action or equanimity, the contrast is quite stark. And then your choice would be quite meaningful when you decide on going further with any of these two practices. Whereas if you follow these practices when you hear it from an influencer or anything, uh, that usually leads to more confusion, even if it's subconscious confusion. And really, don't get me wrong, I do understand why. I do understand the choice of blindly following something like that when you are in trenches and just want the pain to stop. And I'd say that this is where it kind of comes a full circle, if I'm not being wrong. uh, you might ask, how is that? Like, how is it, how this is all is coming in full circle? Because when you do learn nishkama karma, which is feeling everything, feeling the love and feeling the care for someone deeply, in that sense you also learn how to not hold someone or something hostage to your suppressed emotions or even the erratic expression of those emotions. Because in nishkama karma you are going to learn to feel everything, so you actually can't you know operate from the place of suppressed emotions or even the erratic expression of those emotions, because nishkama karma tells you to feel everything but not hold anyone or anything to, you know uh, hostage, as an hostage or possession. So to practice nishkama karma is to neither avoid pain entirely but also not be swept away by it. like like Lord Mahadev was in that spell of grief quite deep, and which made him do destructive Rudra Tandava and wander aimlessly with Sati's corpse. And Lord Vishnu had to snap him out of it by slicing Sati's body using his Sudarshan Chakra into 51 pieces, which are now called Shakti Pithas. So, this also teaches us that consciousness itself grieves deeply when it loses its creative energy. There's a reason behind saying Shakti ke bina Shiv Shav hai. And when I tell you that Shiva, Lord Shiva, was in deep grief, I did not mean that he was like crying endlessly, sobbing, wailing, but he was quite distant, too distant, to the point of total withdrawal. And that's grief too. He grieved because he became powerless, because moving on requires energy, and so he retracted into a dark cave in motionless isolation. Emotions are energy, we all know that. We have heard quite a lot of wannabe gurus or even the actual psychotherapist or psychologist or psychiatrist that emotions are actually energy. And if you practice vairagya, that leads to you becoming static. Consciousness in and of itself is static, and energy is what makes it dynamic. When anything is dynamic, it moves, and whatever moves with consciousness is called life itself. So life is neither total vairagya and not totally, living too dynamically, too energetically. And I think I'll leave it on you to think what living too energetically means. So let's move on to the next part. So a person that has renounced from the world, practicing vairagya or detachment, is not living a life. They are existing. They are static. Because, like I said, they have renounced relationships and thus spared themselves pain or suffering that comes with relationships sometimes. But that also means no true joy or true love. On the other hand, a person who is deeply emotionally involved in anything, whether it is their own self image or relationship, without any awareness or consciousness, they let their emotions choose their actions instead of them choosing their actions, which means they are living too dynamically. And you might ask again, what is living too dynamically? Living too dynamically shows up in two ways. Either you are considering yourself of too much importance, or you are considering a relationship or a person or anything outside of you of too much importance. The former makes you quite self absorbed, selfish, even narcissist if taken too far, and the latter makes you too selfless to the point of you becoming a doormat that other people come and use you. You have no boundaries at all, and people are quite comfortable disrespecting you and thinking of you as an utility. If you practice nishkama karma, you will notice how easy it becomes to break out of spells of pain and suffering. It is not to say that your life becomes devoid of pain or any emotions. It simply provides you a skill to move through those emotions instead of either suppressing it or letting them erupt erratically. So this is all what spirituality says. This is whatever I was talking about till now was all about spirituality. Moving on to philosophy. Philosophy has another word for this, and you must have heard it at least once, as it's quite popular. Stoicism. Stoicism is remarkably similar to Kama Karma. I'm not going to say that they are same things. Stoicism is often confused with suppressing emotions, which is correct. Stoicism is all about feeling whatever you feel, but still respond to an adversity with rationality. It teaches you to focus on your thoughts, feelings, and actions and accept the things that you cannot control. The only thing that is different, besides the fact that Stoicism is an ancient Greek or Roman philosophy and Nishkama Karma is a Hindu spiritual concept, is that what goal you want to achieve. If your goal is just simply tranquility or being unbothered, being undisturbed, then choosing Stoicism would be an aligned practice. But if you are someone spiritual or you want to start spirituality, in a sense that you want to achieve moksha or spiritual liberation and union with the divine, then Nishkama Karma would be the most aligned choice to make. So now you know the difference between the words that are thrown around quite often without anyone knowing their true meaning, causing confusions, and sometimes even like the confusion is quite subconscious. So people don't even know that they're confusing themselves and practicing something else in the name of entirely something else. So now you know the difference between three things: Vairagya, Nishkama Karma, and Stoicism. Vairagya is actual detachment, total detachment, total withdrawal, total emotional uninvolvement in anything. That's Vairagya. And Nishkama Karma, which is non attachment or equanimity, where you care deeply for other people and you love people, you feel pain and everything, yet you do not hold anyone hostage just because you have intense feelings. And the third is Stoicism. Stoicism is again almost similar to uh, Nishkama Karma. It also teaches you to focus on your feelings and thoughts and actions, and asks you to accept the things that are out of your control. So, by no means am I an expert, so you are free to correct me or add your own insight in the comment section. Also, being honest, I haven't actually, you know, chosen a path. Just because I'm talking about it doesn't mean I am practicing any of it steadily. And that's not to say that I'm being flaky or anything. But the thing is that what I am trying to do for now as a young person is is I think it falls in the under the category of Stoicism. So because I am learning how to focus on my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions, or like the response to other people's feelings or thoughts. And also I'm learning to accept the things that cannot control. I cannot control other person's thoughts, feelings, or even their actions. Nothing. I can't control the other person or the situation. Sometimes you can control a situation, but sometimes you really can't. So and I mean that's it. I think I practice Stoicism. For now, because of course I haven't neither renounced from anything or have done truly selfless actions. I'm just a human, and a young person, so I haven't really done truly selfless actions where I haven't at all considered my own self, my own feelings while performing that action. So, but when I do pick one to practice, uh, it would be equanimity, non-attachment, not detachment, because I mean nishkama karma. So let me know. Let me know in the comment section below, what are you currently practicing? Are you even currently practicing anything? And what's your plan? What are you looking forward to start practicing or have started practicing now? I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye, guys.